Hello everyone, this is Dan Fitzpatrick, the AI educator. Last week I was privileged enough to spend 2 days in private talks with some top politicians and big tech representatives from around the world. We met at Ditchley Park for the Ditchley Foundation Summit around AI and its impact on education and work. And I'm going to give you my 3 takeaways. My 3 takeaways can go into the following categories. Number 1, the role of humans in an AI-dominated world. Number 2, social impact of AI. And number 3, AI-driven disruption. Let's delve into category number 1, the role of humans in an AI-dominated world. First of all, there was some discussion in the pre-meeting to the conference and then in the conference of itself of this concept of humans of the gap. Now, if you read my newsletter or have heard me speak before, you might have come across this concept. It's a concept that I developed last year, and it is based on, believe it or not, a religious concept, this God of the gaps argument that when we can't explain something, then religion will try to fill that hole and say, well, it must be God. And as we go through the ages, God gets pushed out of the explanations because science can explain it. My argument is that if we focus on teaching humans, our students, those in the workplace, the skills that AI can't do, because we see them as now the valuable skills, then actually as we go through the next few years and AI develops, all it's going to do is push humans out of those gaps we've put them in. And if we're assigning value to humans based on what they can do in those gaps, those skills they've got, then that value will slowly be diminished. Let's base our value on something else, on who we are as humans. If we want to learn skills that AI can do, we should still be able to do that. And I still think there will be a lot of niches where humans can still make a good living from those skills. Now, saying that, one of the things we did focus on at Ditchley was we discussed the need for humans to embrace humanity and the skills that are unique to humanity, the skills that make us human beings, and how actually we need to maybe combine those skills with artificial intelligence, which I thought was very, very interesting and something I want to look further into. One thing I did find really interesting, which blew my mind in our discussions at Ditchley, was that the idea of humans in the loop might not be as effective as we think it is. Now, you might have come across this concept, the idea that we should always put humans within the process when AI is creating or generating something for us. And you will see big tech companies using pools of human beings to be able to check the answers and to keep on top of the AI, making sure it's accurate. Actually, some latest research came out to say that humans in the loop could actually make the AI less accurate because the human with their limited knowledge is influencing the AI when the AI has actually got far more knowledge than the actual human. Category number 2, the social impact of AI. This was a big discussion in our talks. It was generally accepted in our talks that there will always be a need for humans in work, in education, and that this sci-fi scenario of robots taking over the labour of humans might not be as true as we might think it is. Now, I would challenge that to a certain extent. I think if anybody has seen the Tesla robots that they're developing and some other companies who are developing robotic technology, I think we're about to go on a really, really interesting journey with robots. For Tesla, one of their key goals is to bring these robots to the consumer market for the price of a family-sized car, a robot that will be in your house. It will do the washing for you, it will tidy the house, it will cook your evening meal for when you get in from work, and so on. I think this will be a reality, and we will see these robots doing a lot of human labour, I think. In fact, there's already talks of Tesla putting these robots into their car manufacturing factories. Another thing I found really interesting in our conversations was that need for the human touch within caregiving jobs will not go away. And in fact, there was some discussion to say that at some point we might actually need to start paying nurses more than doctors, because AI will be to replace or at least augment a lot of what a doctor does, but may not necessarily be able to replace or augment what a nurse does because of that care that they give. Very, very interesting in how that shift of focus from the technical to the more personal skills might develop. Further to that conversation, we also talked about how the human relationships and understanding and a deeper context of the world would still be very much in need and can't be replaced. I'm not so sure about that. I think we will start seeing humans developing deep relationships with AI, especially when they start to take the form more of humans in the robots, like we've mentioned. It could be a very interesting few years for how humans bond with this technology. It was also recognised at the conference that there will be hardships with this technology. Although we can get excited about it and how much it will transform our world, and I'm the first one guilty of that because I think the benefits will help us ultimately, there are still some downsides to this. And two of the hardships that we discussed, first of all, were job displacement. Another hardship we discussed was the environmental impact of developing and running these artificial intelligence tools. And it's really interesting. I personally, I don't think that should be a reason why we should stop using it, because there are a lot of arguments to say that actually the more developed the artificial intelligence gets, actually the more likely we are to be able to utilize that AI to come up with dynamic solutions to that problem. And finally, category number 3 of the things that I have taken away from that Ditchley Summit is AI-driven disruption. Now, if you read my newsletters, you'll know I talk about disruption a lot, disruption to the education system, disruption to how we'll work, how we'll learn, how we'll play into the future. We did touch upon this. And first of all, we talked about personalized learning. It was really interesting to see that there was a bit of a split between what we mean by personalized learning. So there was a lot of conversation about personalized learning being how we personalize learning, but the teacher or the educator still being in charge of that process and getting the data and being able to be agile with the students' learning based on what the data that the technology is bringing. And I suppose we see tools like that. We see tools being able to do that. However, there's another side of the coin when it comes to personalized learning. And I think it is personalized learning where there isn't a teacher or there's not a school or a university involved in that process, where it's just the AI tutor, whatever that looks like, with the student, helping the student develop on their own. And I think we'll see a rise of that type of technology and could be a really big disruptor. A huge topic that we talked about, mainly I think because we were graced with the presence of a lot of representatives from higher education, was how higher education must adapt. And we talked about the current value of higher education and universities in being places that certify certain knowledge. And actually we kind of distilled down actually what's the value of higher education. And a lot of the opinion that was expressed was it was just that certification. It was just to enable a student to get into their first job. And then after that, employers probably put more emphasis onto skills and skill development and ability to adapt. I think we are starting to see a lot more employers put the skills and the ability to adapt first. And what does that mean for universities and their power to certify? And universities have got big brands. If you think Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford, Yale, their power to certify knowledge holds a lot more weight than some other universities. But will other brands emerge in being able to certify? Non-traditional educational brands that can certify for cheaper and also drive their brand to maybe even get in front of those big universities. I think it's all up for grabs at the moment, and it'll be really interesting to see if universities can keep a hold of their status in being the powerful certifiers that they are. We also talked that if HE is going to survive, then it must adapt. It must embrace this technology, and it must kind of save its brand and do that by being agile and by embracing AI and maybe focusing on skills more than knowledge. Really interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I'm really fascinated in that debate because I think a lot of what university is, what it stands for, the skills they develop and the knowledge that they instill has a huge impact lower down the education system on further education, on schools. And if HE is disrupted, it will very much trickle down to the other sectors of education in our society. Finally, within category 3 on AI-driven disruption, it was economic disruption by AI. There is so much investment going into developing new AI and AI companies that it will change the jobs market. In fact, we're already seeing huge changes to the job markets already. And so the skills, the economic skills that we're going to need are going to be very, very different and going to focus on collaboration with AI, I think. So that's a roundup of the three things that I took away from my private meetings with big tech and politicians and business leaders around the world at Ditchley Park last week. Put into those three categories for you. Let me know what you think about these. Subscribe to this channel and let's have a conversation around this. Until next time, I've been Dan Fitzpatrick, the AI Educator. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the AIeducator.io to subscribe to the newsletter. Take care.